What's going on, guys? Bear with me here as I just get situated. There was something that I actually wanted to share with you guys on the last live stream that I forgot to show. And so because of that, I'm going to be doing my diligence here to do it on this secondary live stream. So for those of you guys who have been following, there's a new exciting thing that I got myself involved with. And so for those of you guys who have been following, I'm going to show you real quick. I had right here, I ended up having, boom, another notification come on my phone today at the close of the daily candle that Shiba Inu is once again, for the third day in a row, in a fear category on this new indicator. Now, let me see. This started back on the 18th, 19th, 20th, and of course now we're starting the 21st. So it's starting the daily candle on the fourth day, being kind of at this range. Now, for some of you guys, who may be, threatened by that, like, oh, that doesn't sound good. Well, this basically is indicating that it is extremely oversold. It's oversold, and it measures the market behavior way beyond what a lot of these traditional indicators, they've customized these indicators to have more data built into them, right? Even like, for example, on the, I believe it's the RSI, if I'm not mistaken. Let me just double check. It looks to be the case. So on many of these indicators, it waits before it gives you another signal as it retraces a little bit. But these indicators actually allow you an opportunity for, if you didn't catch, for example, selling high, these other indicators won't allow you another opportunity to say, here, it's another high point. And so this one actually does that. But, and I'm not talking about the one that you see on the screen that I was showing you, where the colors are. These, I'm talking about this Pro Trade Manager down here. But let me show you traditionally, if I just shrink this up a little bit, as I showed you this the other day, here is where it went into the fear category back in March. And so it basically was saying it's an oversold, situation. Now, it printed, if you're using the second indicator here, the Pro Trade Manager. By the way, there's an incredible coupon, guys. There's an incredible coupon in the description section of this video where you can get $50 off of each one of these indicators. So this one here, the Pro Trade Manager down at the bottom, it literally will print for you these dots to tell you this is a good buying opportunity, which you could see would have been right here. Okay. Obviously it came down more, but then you can see this is where you got to have patience, because every one of these, watch this, one more day, one more day, one more day, one more day. This is the daily candle. So it took literally from the time where it told you to potentially this could be a good buying opportunity. That was on the 2nd, to where it peaked would have been on the 16th. So that would have been a 14-day period, a 2-week period where you would just been waiting right? And then it told you to basically sell right here. Okay, not quite the top, but whoever catches the top. Well, this indicator actually does in many cases. This one is not quite the top here. This one would have been the top right there. Bam, the freaking stinking top. That's pretty amazing. And then it gave you another one here to tell you, that if you, in case you missed it, you're getting another one. Close out your sale, right? And so that's what I'm talking about. It has some really, and we could go even further back right here. Here's another instance where it was fear, right? And you could see what the market did shortly thereafter. And so my point is, this is, short-term trading. And of course, nothing's perfect when you're dealing with indicators. But this is super, super fun and super neat. And so what I'm telling you now is, yes, we went into fear up here and we're actually a little lower. But we already saw that play out further back. And I already shared that with you even right here, where it went lower than it already had. This is a kind of a smaller scale version. But nonetheless, it began to jog up. My point is, nothing's guaranteed in trading, as they say. None of this is prophetic, by the way. I have to share that. But in between, and this is what I've shared with my community, and much of my community, inside my private community, is much of my private community has followed the things that I teach concerning, and not as a financial advisor, but to share wisdom. And what I mean by that is, one example of wisdom is, to go ahead and take advantage. Well, gosh, I can't tell you how many times where my community has caught some of these pumps, and these coins are pumping. And it's like every single time that I post in there, don't forget to take profits. It's like clockwork. Every time I say that, boom, the next move is that it goes down. Every single time. That has been the most alarming thing that we've seen, I think, in the group, is every single time I say, don't forget. And I'm not telling everybody to get out. I'm just saying, use wisdom. Don't forget, we've been here before, and take profits. You don't have to cash out your whole bag, but maybe pull a little off the table, right? And save some, maybe to roll over if you desire to, that's the whole thing, is to rinse and repeat. And man, we've seen so many of these opportunities. So many of my people, Ian, it's in the description section, as I mentioned, right? So check the description section. So that being said, in its trading view, they give you the instructions on how to install the indicators. But here's the deal, guys. They I'm trying to think of too many things at once. I get distracted by the comments, guys. I'm going to turn them off for a minute. So because of the ability to, and then when the market's crashing, even though it's not quite where God is telling us, I tell people, don't forget, nothing moves in a straight line, right? And so go ahead and buy the dips if you feel God leading you. And then as soon as I say that, it starts pumping again. And then people are like, man, just incredible. So while we're stewarding the prophetic words, these things are because I am not a technical analyst. I am not the guy for on-chain data. I'm not the guy. I will do basic amateur, chart lines or trend lines, and just to kind of give people an idea. I've been able to pinpoint certain things at times, that was very accurate in my amateur usage of TA. But this junk right here is the good stuff, because you've got people that are way above my pay grade, right? Wait a minute. What happened to my indicators? They're gone. How did that even happen? Hold on. I'm going to stop sharing my screen. I'm going to do a hard refresh. And they're back. That was so weird. All right. But anyhow, these are just super, super cool because right now we are in this fear range. Okay. Whoops. I'm not trying to get instructions. Watch this. We're in this fear range. When it is in this category, okay, and you can see it gives you a little arrow, pretty nice little arrow right here to tell you where you're at. And if you're, sometimes I have literally been curious as to what color I'm looking at. And so what I'll do is I'll just drag it over and be like, oh, yep, no, that's more that color or that color, right? And so it's very simple to just, be like, oh, there we go. That's the one. And so, boom, this is fear. There is max fear. But, of course, you can always, reserve a little bit if you want to, chance it for max fear. But here's the cool thing. If you go to, let me take you to the long-term chart, because this is where I feel like, oh boy. Well, this is where I feel like a lot of people are, there we go, freaking out. Because this is like Shiba Inu's all-time, bottom right there. And we're like really riding that right now and have even broken below it, but it's toying with it. And but can I say something to you? Look at what happens when it decides and makes a decision, right? Look at what happens when these support levels act as what they actually are, right? And so let's just go to the big one here, the first one, and let's go from right here. Now, remember, I shrunk this up so much that it's hard to get an exact, but I'm going to go ahead and do my best and roughly say, boom, right there is a 1,200% gain. Okay. Then you want to go to this one here, and I'm going to go to the top of it. That was a 400% gain. Okay. And so these pumps that happen once they get supported by this very, very strong support line can be very, very nice. Now, obviously, I'm not telling you anything of making any promises. All I'm telling you is some people actually in the markets, they look for this stuff. This is what they look for. Yes, there's a risk of it breaking below that support level. And, even when it does in the short term, that's, understandable. Sustained breakouts are obviously A, longer term, and B, can be more definitive. But, people who are risk takers look for opportunities like this and they say, man, like if this holds, right? And that's what we are all in this for. Now, I'm not telling you, this is all theoretical, what I'm sharing with you right here, right? This is all theoretical. However, whoops, let me get back over here. This is intuitive. That was theoretical. This is intuitive. And I'm not talking about prophetic intuitive. I'm talking about programmed into the code intuitive. And even on the short term, you could potentially see a gain. If we went from here to here to where it topped out right back here in May, okay, a month and 10 days ago, you're looking at 40%, right? That's a nice little upswing. And, you know, this is just some things that I'm showing you guys to look at. These are some really incredible tools, indicators. Then you've got the volume bubbles where you could basically see, you know, massive whale signals in the background. If you wanted to combine these indicators, you could say, you know what, looks like we just had a big sale. And at some point, this would have been, yeah, today it looks like. And so sometimes, you know, you can see this price action move in the direction of whatever the bubble is, even afterwards. I was told by the indicator creator that sometimes it doesn't move at all, and sometimes it moves later on, and sometimes it's more immediate. But these are just to let you know what's happening behind the scenes, even that, you know, you won't be able to see on a lot of metric data, you know, in a lot of other indicators like the volume indicators. So this one right here, once again, it did not print a buy notification. Okay. Just got to throw that out there. This is yet an additional indicator of the Pro Trade Manager, and which has traditionally been able to call the tops and the bottoms. And that's basically what it's about. And that's what you could see here, is that both of these greens were the bottoms. How it's able to do that, guys, I got no clue. Now, this one obviously is not the bottom, because the market is obviously nothing is guaranteed. So if you were to split up your, you know, liquidity or whatever your risk capital is to use, you know, what they call liquid in the markets that you keep, you know, free for these types of moves, aside from your prophetic stewarding, then this would be what you might want to, you know, consider of doing, is basically putting some, and you're going to have a lot more of these signals on a lot of these other coins. Some of these coins, and I'm not going to get into all the coins, but you can see here, you know, that, well, that wasn't necessarily, let's use this one, for example, right here. In fact, this is, I think, the one I showed earlier, where it went lower. Okay. Just like we're in now. You know, it's like it printed it and it went lower. And here's the cool thing. Look at this. It never printed one when it went lower. So for whatever reason, this indicator never said it's another good time to buy, but you could see what happened afterwards. And that is what I mean by this fear marker right here, is that even though it went lower, it's still pumped. And that's kind of why I bring you back to here, where we are here. It went lower than it was up here. Okay. And this was even a print, just like it was earlier on what we saw on the chart. So it did. It's almost like mimicking the same behavior. Now, that does not mean that this is, you know, guaranteed to go up, because it did the same exact behavior back here, right? But we can pretty much assume that that's a probability, because these behaviors can tend to follow suit. So I love these indicators because it can give you a lot to look at. Number one, the volume bubbles is one indicator. Okay. I can literally turn that off. I mean, I thought I could. There it is. I can turn the volume bubbles off. See that? And then the market cycle highs and lows indicator is the one that gives you all of this color palette to synchronize. It literally replaces the candles. Like, in other words, to turn this indicator on, right? I'd have to go over here and uncheck all of these candles, right? That's what traditionally your chart looks like. and I'm glad I brought this up, because you don't see any of that data that indicator brings to the table without the indicator. So now I'm going to get completely rid of the body, the borders, and the wick, and it leaves you with nothing until you bring in that indicator, and it restores all of that with its own really neat presentation. And that's what I love about this. It is so sophisticated on the back end, but it is so simple on the front end. Literally, this is so easy to read. And so what you want to look for as a trader, and this is obviously not prophetic, I'm just adding this in here as a part of, kind of the entrepreneurial side of what we're doing, okay? This is max euphoria when it gets to be kind of this pinkish mauve. Then you have extreme greed, which is obviously way overbought potentially, right, already. So to go into max euphoria, wow. And any one of these, even mild greed, depending upon where you are in the market cycle, any one of these could be a place that you would consider selling. I mean, think about it. We've been in a bearish market, right? So you're not going to see really a lot of these at all. And let's confirm that with scrolling back. You're going to look for mild greed. That would be the light orange color. Shoot, we haven't even seen neutral in a while. You know what I mean? I don't even see yellow on here, which is neutral. There's the yellow. So we were in the neutral zone back in September of 2025. We have been in mild caution, concern, fear, and max fear ever since, okay? I don't even think it's touched max fear yet, which is really good. But then, also not, because obviously max fear means it could go lower. Anything could happen. This doesn't even tell you with 100% what it's going to do. It's an indicator, guys. Nothing's guaranteed. So I got to share that with you. But, for those who understand what this is like what's that old saying? The neatest thing since sliced bread. This is why I love these indicators, guys, because they are just so clean, so easy to understand, so user-friendly, and every single one of them comes with a training video on how to understand it fully. He just did a video today that went over, more in depth. This one down here, the Pro Trade Manager, where it shows you where to buy and where to sell, where to buy and where to sell. Now, when I say where to buy and where to sell, what I mean is where to consider buying, where to consider selling, right? Because again, nothing's guaranteed. That's why I have to say that, because, the average person who doesn't know this stuff would be foolish. And they would be like, it says to buy. I'm going to go all in, right? No. That's not what you do with an indicator. You determine your risk, so you get to know, and I asked him, I said, what is the statistical win rate here of your indicators? He said, what you look for in an indicator is 70% win rate or above. He said, if you have a 70% win rate indicator or above, he said, you've got a very good indicator. He said, our indicators score on the upwards portion of what is possible. I can't remember the exact number. I think he said 90 to 95%. Is just not even, you just can't do that. And he says, but, ours are closer to that than, and I'm just giving you random because I don't want to mess this up and give you wrong information. But that's my takeaway of what he said, is that they were closer to the higher range rather than the lower range. Okay. I think he said 85%, if you want to just have me blurt it out, which is obviously really good. Especially, well, let me tell you this, especially when you're following, and this is where it gets exciting. If you're inside my private community, for example, and you're following what we're stewarding as the prophetic price points, well, for me, I know that this coin is going to go to this amount. So if it's telling me that this is fear and it's a good buying opportunity, and I know it's going to go higher anyway, hello, it's so simple, right? And that's the benefit of having the prophetic foundation for me, not for you, for me, because I'm that guy. I'm not telling you what to do, right? Okay. So that being said, if you look at these indicators and you don't tell me that these are the simplest that you've ever seen, easiest to understand, most user-friendly, right? And of course, this is the EMA distance analyzer. So this determines how far away from the moving average we actually are. And I don't know how these got all fouled up here, because I can't see the tops and the bottoms. But if you look at this, you can see basically where this is, really reaching here. And it's basically saying, you got to pay attention to how far away you are from the moving average, right? Right here, boom. Like when you see this coming up, you got to pay attention. Like we are really far away from the moving average. And so, boom, you want to really pay attention to these long spikes, right? Like this would be a buy. Okay. And that's why, you see the green dots down there. Here's another one, like right here, boom. And we're not really that far away from that price point here now. Although it's not showing us far away from the moving average right now. And so that being said, guys, I've given you enough, but this is how you can kind of read this very simply. So you've got the, whoops. And they're all there, guys. They're all there. You've got the Pro Trade Manager that gives you the dots, okay? The Pro Trade Manager. You've got the EMA Distance Analyzer. You've got the Market Cycle Highs and Lows. And then the Volume Bubbles. That one I don't need to circle because it's pretty self-explanatory, okay? So once again, Market Cycle Highs and Lows. Let me get rid of the Volume Bubbles. Market Cycle Highs and Lows. This is my favorite. Got to tell you the truth. This is my favorite. If I was going to get two instead of the one, I would get this one down here. Why? Come on. I mean, literally, for a guy like myself that likes everything simple, boom, give those two to me right there. Right? This one, and it's not even drawing on the thing. So this one and that one. But if you want to add the EMA Distance Analyzer, if you understand what I just said and how to read this, I mean, it's also very, very simple. You guys, just so you know, for the EMA Distance Analyzer, let me get rid of all this stuff and show you something. You can actually draw a chart line like that on these indicators. You can actually draw chart lines to show yourself, like where these things traditionally peak out, right? And so then you see what I'm doing? Like I'm lining up all of these max ranges, right? And so that way, anytime it gets close to this, I'm going to be buying, buying, buying. Anytime it gets close to this, I'm going to be selling, selling, selling. right? Super cool, right? So once again, EMA distance analyzer, pro trade manager. Look at this. Boom. Sell, 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 sell. Buy, 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 buy. Really, really cool stuff. And when you're winning 85% of the time, off the cuff number there, when you're winning 85% of the time, come on. That's what it's all about, guys. And that's where we're at on these indicators. Just solid, solid, solid. But once again, my favorite is the way that this is just so self-explanatory. And what he says to me is his favorite timing on the charts is the day chart and the 4-hour chart. So he likes to look at the day chart, but the second runner-up is going to be the 4-hour chart. Okay, that's it, guys. I hope you enjoyed my tutorial of another guru's indicators. And once again, there is a coupon for each one. You literally can get $50 off 3 of those. And I can tell you which ones. And I'll tell you, let me see. The Pro Trade Manager, the Volume Bubbles, and the Market Cycle Highs and Lows. So the one that the coupon is not good for is the EMA Distance Analyzer right here. Okay, the EMA Distance Analyzer. Whoops. All right. So, but obviously that's still available for purchase. But the coupons are for the Pro Trade Manager, $50 off. The Market Cycle Highs and Lows, $50 off. And then the Volume Bubbles, $50 off. Okay. Super, super cool, guys. Great discount. And I'm just sharing these with you. And because if you've been following my private community, or if you've been a part of my, let me speak to the people outside of my private community. If you're not in my private community, we have learned inside my private community, as we've stewarded this journey, that there have been plenty of opportunities to play in the game if you had something like this, or if you were an incredible chart analyst, technical analyst, and you were a great swing trader where you could catch some really good opportunities that, you steward over a 2-week period, for example, like we showed you on the charts. And obviously that would be for the smaller portion of your risk capital outside of your larger portion that you're stewarding the prophetic stuff with. If that's your strategy, that's my strategy. Thanks for watching, guys. God bless. And we'll talk to you soon. Take care.